This will unlock the Patriots as we have some major Patriots updates on what the key to success will be moving forward for New England and Mike Vrabel. We get you the latest Patriots news and updates right here on Patriots Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. Have lots to discuss involving two key free agent signings that are already paying dividends. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it today. We first start with this headline talking about a $43 million underrated pass rusher that is already paying off. That, of course, is talking about Harold Landry. Harold Landry had some time with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, so there is a connection there, and a lot to talk about with Harold. But I want to start first with maybe an even more less looked at piece, even though he got paid more, and that is Milton Williams. You see, he had maybe a career game on week 1 against the Las Vegas Raiders, and what was supposed to be a pretty good rushing attack, he shut down. 49 snaps was a career high for Williams, 7 pressures was a team high, a 23.3 pass rush win rate, 2 QB hits, 1 tackle for loss, 2 run stuffs, 4 tackles. It was definitely worth the money, which is kind of where we go to because I want to remind you about the key free agent signings the Patriots made in this offseason as we go to a report here from Ryan Kennedy of Fansided saying, quote, "The New England Patriots spent some money this offseason on the defensive side of the ball. The big name signings were defensive lineman Milton Williams, quarterback Carlton Davis, linebacker Robert Spillane, and defensive end Harold Landry. 2 of these guys really proved dividends in week 1, not to say Robert Spillane and Carlton Davis didn't, but looking at the pass rush, it was a lot better than last year, and in some ways a little bit, unexpected. In some lights, you would want to think that Harold Landry is going to be a better signing than what the national media was giving credit for, especially given his connection with Mike Vrabel. And Milton Williams, I think, was a very key piece to Philadelphia, and they were sad to see him go. In fact, if we go to the report here, it was more of a cap casualty than anything for Philadelphia. Ryan Kennedy of Fansided once again saying, quote, "The biggest spend this season was on Milton Williams. Williams was a key rotational piece for the Eagles in their Super Bowl run, but was a cap casualty for Philadelphia. The Eagles are fortunate that they have enough talent to be able to let go of a piece like Williams, whereas the Patriots were in the exact opposite position, needing to spend to attract a talented player," end quote. And this is true to an extent. New England is not a place that a lot of NFL players, want to go to, want to be at, but I think there is a little bit of a stigma against New England when the Patriots are a winning culture. They want to get back to a winning culture. They have tried a bunch of different things, and the rebuilding area has been a little longer than we expected, and Bill Belichick obviously has moved on. We've moved on from Drake Maye now, and you have hopefully what is a winning coach in Mike Vrabel, a guy who is, a Patriots Hall of Famer, has a lot of intangibles with the organization. So I think in some ways, maybe it's not the most attractive place in the NFL, but I do think with the culture the Patriots are building, the love that the fans have for this team, and the want for this team to be back at the top of the league, it's a place that some players actually do enjoy going, and Milton Williams was a big piece of that. So talking more about Milton Williams, we actually found an article talking about it from the Eagles standpoint. Javon Alford of Fansided, he said, quote, "He wasn't the only Patriots defense starter that played 40-plus snaps, as Christian Barrymore, 47, and Harold Landry, 48, joined him, given the struggles of the Pats defense last year under Drake Maye." Now, a big thing why I pulled up that article is because he talked about Milton Williams and talked about how the Eagles may or may not have been the wrong to maybe make room for him, figure out a way to cut other people and sign him. But he continued on and talked about it, looking at it from a Patriots perspective as well. The Patriots last year had a defense that was good and had some positives, but overall just kind of lacked in some areas. Whereas this year, the Patriots have a pretty good front line. The depth piece, that's where the question comes in, and that's why Christian Gonzalez, being out week 1 was such a huge thing for the New England Patriots. Well, it seems that Vrabel has obviously made a clear commitment that if you are a player that, we believe in, you're going to get good time. And that's exactly where he goes with here as he continues on with that quote saying, "Vrabel is clearly making it a point to get his best players on the field at all times. It netted positive results as the Pats defense will only allowed 56 rushing yards and a touchdown and racked up 4 different sacks." Part of that was for Milton Williams, part of that was for Harold Landry, which at the time of the Harold Landry signing, you could not see a positive article out there from a national media outlet. It was constantly, why did they give him $43 million? Why are they paying him? Why are they doing this? Why? I truly think the main reason was because of the connection with Mike Vrabel and understanding that maybe Landry and the defense and the Tennessee Titans and the people around him, it didn't exactly work, whereas with the Patriots defense and the way they can kind of assess it with Milton Williams, it can definitely create a positive. Now, Landry actually was one of the few players who had multiple sacks in week 1, as we go to a report from Ryan Kennedy of Fansided saying, quote, Landry has multiple seasons of double-digit sacks, as well as 2 additional 9-sack seasons. His signing was not particularly lauded, as NFL.com had Landry listed as the 66th most valuable free agent. Compare that to both Williams at number 1 and Davis at number 7, and it appears the Patriots may have found a steal in free agency. If you look at the week 1 kind of stat sheet and look at the pressure rate across the NFL, you can see Harold Landry was number 1. When you look at PFF pressure rate, 27.6, 2.6% higher than anybody else in the entire NFL. The only guy closest to him was Hassan Reddick at 25%. And we saw Milton Williams earlier. Like I said, he had a 23.3% pass rush rate. So, he's technically probably should be on here as well. I don't have the proper ones. But again, it's a pretty decent sign to see that you signed a couple of free agents. And, I think Carlton Davis is good. I think that the pass defense was honestly really hurt by the loss of Christian Gonzalez, and Carlton Davis held it down. I mean, he had a pretty good game. I don't think there's much to talk about on his light, but it's a cool thing to know that Harold Landry, is performing to the level that you expected. In fact, no player had more pressures or sacks than Harold Landry in week 1 per PFF 8 and 3. I think he has 2.5 sacks. So there is that, but either way, it still is a sight to see when you look at his PFF grades from week 1, and you can see he is 17th in all of edge rushers with an overall grade of 80.5. That is a positive here with the pass rush grade, where he is 18th, and he has a 75.8 rating, and then in the 20s with a 68.8 run defense grade, which we know that the pass rush grade is more important for Mike Vrabel when it comes to Harold Landry, and the run defense grade is going to be more important for Milton Williams. That's just the way that we saw him use in week 1, and in some ways the way that he's talked about Milton Williams and Harold Landry and the way he was going to structure this defensive line from pretty much since he got here. So not a unsurprising thing there to see that the defense, and specifically the run defense for Harold Landry, was not as good as the pass defense. But I do think that Landry honestly is going to be a very good signing for the Patriots throughout this entire season. It's one game. I think that there can be sometimes too many reactions to week 1, but I like to look at the PFF grades. I like to look more in depth. I like to look at the pass rush percentage, because that can tell you a lot more about a player. And again, you're going to go through teams that are going to have better offensive linemen. You're going to have teams that have worse rushing attacks and better passing attacks, or better rushing attacks and worse passing attacks. But that's exactly why you can kind of structure your defense to have a couple guys like this, where Milton Williams is going to be on there with the run defense, and Harold Landry is going to be there with the passing, with the pass rush. So I think it's a good combo to have. I think it's a very good setup for the defense. And as of right now, Mike Vrabel maybe didn't make all the right decisions for sure in his first game back as a head coach. But I think in some aspects, it's a new era for the New England Patriots. This is a building block year. We all expected this, and while the hope was maybe you get a playoff game, maybe you're able to come up and be close up there with the Bills, get a wild card spot, the honest truth is what the true expectation for this season becomes, and has become all along, is trying to make this season building for next year. You still have a ton of money to spend. You still can kind of understand that, okay, we succeeded in getting better here. We have a coach that we want to rely on here for the next however many years you're going to work with Mike Vrabel. And so it's a time to kind of assess what you are good at, assess what needs improvement. And it stinks because in some ways, I think if you don't hire Drake Maye last year, you kind of can create a building block last year. But again, right free agents weren't there. It's just supposed to work out this way. And from now for the Patriots, it's all about getting better. And you have a Miami team that is really struggling going into week number 2. A pretty favorable schedule for the most part for the next 4 or 5 weeks. You got a pretty decent matchup against the Bills, obviously, in there as well. The Steelers are looking good, but there's some bad teams you're going to be playing. So if you can go out and perform against the bad teams, that's really what I expect. And if we go out there and lose against Miami this upcoming week, then then your entire viewpoint shifts, and you're probably thinking about another, top 10 pick, hopefully, is where you probably go to after that, which I'm hopefully not going to look at that after week 2, but the way Miami looked, you gotta go out there and get a win. That's plain and simple what it is. We appreciate you watching here today on Patriots Digest. For our Patriots question of the day, I want you to get down in the comment section. Let me know, how many sacks do you think Harold Landry will end up with by the end of the year? Again, by official count, he's got 2.5. PFS says he has 3. We're going to go 2.5 sacks. So what exactly is the sack total going to be for Harold Landry when the season is said and done? As of right now, he's on pace for, 20 plus. So we'll see if that continues. But we appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, stick around, and we'll get a lot more Patriots content going, and more as we enter the deep depths of this season, and a lot more of this, hopefully building block here. We'll see you next time, though. And for now, peace out.